everyone. Hello. I'm so excited to have you guys here. Welcome to Ed Talk TV, Conversations Worth Having. I hope you are having a fantastic day. I hope that you're enjoying the show. And if you've been following us, awesome. We've been having so much fun. And today we are going to talk about content marketing, how you can personalize it. It's going to be so much fun. I'll bring on my guests soon. But before we do, I'll give you a little tour, a little background of the show. So basically, this is a talk show where I talk business, tech, and the user experience. I try to bring on guests almost every day of the week, so that way you can not only listen to me, but you have other people to listen to. It's a great way to build your online presence, share your knowledge, and like I always say, teamwork equals success. So that's what the show's about. If you want to be a guest after the broadcast, you can go over to checkwithed.com and click on the Facebook Live show. It will have details about how you can become a guest and upcoming episodes. I'm going to also be looking down sometimes at my device, so that way I can just see. I'm also using BeLive.tv. I like to give you a little bit of background. If you want to actually see my setup, check my Facebook story here for the business page. I just did a quick little behind the scenes of what my setup looks like. So you can check that out after the show, because we don't want you going anywhere. You got to stay right here, right here. So before I bring on my guest, I want to show you just fun random news. By the way, I don't have a name for this yet, but if you have any suggestions, always feel free to drop them in the comments. By the way, comments and shares are always welcome. That's what it's all about here. I want you to not only engage with me and my guests, but also each other in the comments. And then we'll do our best to go through and actually answer those questions and go through all the comments. Typically, if we can't get to them during the show, we will do our best to follow up after the show and also provide links to the guests and other things that resources that we talk about. Now, before I get into today's main topic, I'm going to show you one of these fun things, and this is where I was going with that, is that if you have any suggestions on what to call, I don't know, fun news, random topics, something like that. Basically, I like to start the show off with something funny, something random, just to kind of lighten the mood. You know, we get plenty of the other kind of news, so I like to have random stuff here. So, what is today? Well, if you have a pet, I have 2 dogs. I love dogs. I'm a dog person. But if you specifically have a cat, you might be interested in this little contraption. Let me show you. So if you have a cat and you really are interested in having a cleaning lady, cleaning man, cleaning machine, you could definitely get this little pod for your cat. Basically, this is almost a $500 piece of equipment. Yes, $500. But it will help you not have to clean up after your cat. Basically, you could check via your phone, your smartphone, to see what's going on and see when you should actually clean out the cleaning tray. You can keep the poop in there for 7 to 10 days, so you don't actually have to scoop it. It's a huge machine that can get a lot done for you, and all you have to do is pay almost $500 and train your cat. So I am not endorsing that product. I just like to share those fun tips or things that I come across on the internet, just random wacky stuff. I for one would not pay $500 for almost $500 for a cat contraption like that. I will say it's awesome to be able to clean itself and do all that business, but that's quite a bit. So anyway, there's your fun random news. Now, today's guest is one that I met through a friend who suggested I check out her podcast, and then from there fell in love and was able to connect, and I'm in a Facebook group with her. I will just let her introduce herself and bring her onto the show here, and then we'll go from there. So let me go ahead and bring her on, and we will get going there. Let me get rid of that. And see all this tech stuff. If you guys saw what I had on the back end here. And hello.
What's up, everybody? How's it going? Happy Wednesday, Happy New Year, all that good stuff.
Yes, hello. I'm so excited to have you here, Kim. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Let people know who you are, and then we'll get into it.
Awesome. So my name is Kim Doyle, also known as the WordPress Chick, and I'm going to be super honest and tell you that will be formerly known as the WordPress Chick in about a month. We are moving everything over to the personal brand, so that's pretty exciting. I've been online almost 10 years. It's a little bit crazy, and I built a brand around WordPress. I'm not a developer. I'm not a coder. Fell in love with the platform. One thing led to another. I found myself building websites at an outsourcing company. But really what shifted everything for me was content. And it was when I launched my podcast about 5 years in that I ended up with all these amazing connections and friendships and relationships. And long story short, I have kind of pivoted, gone back to fundamentals of, I don't know, I love direct response marketing. I love email. I like, the connection piece. I like content. And so I'm about to launch a SaaS company, and my focus is on the personal brand and content. So that's the long and short of it.
I love it. And I love how you mentioned you're going to be focusing on the personal brand. So what kind of made you shift from the WordPress Chick to personal? I know I'm kind of throwing that out there.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's something I'd thought about for a while, and because I really struggled with imposter syndrome. I'm not a developer, I'm not a coder, right? For a long time, I struggled with who am I to talk about this, and then I sort of took, I don't want to say my shtick, but it was like I took that and used it to my advantage. Look, I'm going to help the everyday person use WordPress. Well, I then launched a done for you podcasting service, which was fun. And for what it's worth, it was way more profitable than websites. In a way, I think they've become a little bit of a commodity. But it was just, the truth is I always wanted to be the star, not the producer, right? So service work was not why I started my business. I thought I was going to be like this millionaire information marketer, right? Like I'm going to sell ebooks and make, millions of dollars. So yeah. We know where that goes. But really, it's like I enjoy this way more. I enjoy creating things. I love finding tools and stuff, but I don't mind free how to do stuff, but it's more strategy than it's the technical stuff. And the truth is the WordPress space is tricky. I think there's a lot of evolution coming. I think we're going to see a lot of shifts in the marketplace. When I say people, you guys, bear with me, right? These are generalizations. So I'm not saying everybody, but for the most part, it's a community where so much has been free. So many things have been underpriced. Developers get a hard time for having an annual renewal license. It's kind of like, well, how else do you get support? It can't be free. So it's just, it was just really time. I think that it was me going back to fundamentals and realizing, man, this is my sweet spot. I like the content. I like the marketing. I like the strategy. The software company came about and I'm like, there's no way I can do both, but I can be me while creating content for the software company. So here we are.
I love it. And that's what business is all about. It's finding out what you like and what you want to start to make those little pivots. And it's okay to make those changes. You don't have to do one thing and realize that you're not happy, but you still have to do it because you started it. You make those pivots.
It is. And I think, the thing that's fun about it too is when you share the pivots. I've shared the ups, the downs, the struggles. I've shared, I'm in a mastermind, I'm doing this. And then I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that anymore. It made my head hurt. Or, my love-hate relationship with Gary Vee, which is, I drank the Kool-Aid, but for a long time I was like, stop telling me to hustle. And then I started listening more and paying better attention to his content. And I was like, there's so much more to him than hustling, right? And so it's sharing the journey, because when you're in this, and I'm sure you feel the same way, Ed, you work at home, I work at home, and it's really easy to just kind of live in this little bubble, right? Like, all right, you do your thing and you kind of forget. And so when people share the struggles and the challenges, and just, I love the whole document, don't create, right? And to me, everything is content. And so that piece, people stay on the journey with you. There are a lot of people that found me for WordPress and Genesis and are probably going to stick with me with a personal brand because we've developed a connection. So, it's just being transparent about it, I think.
Yeah, no, and that's a huge one, is being transparent. The other day, it was Amazon. the other day I had finally texted Amazon, they have the little support chat. And I thought, okay, it's a little weird. I've had some issues with my packages. It seems like they arrive more than the 2-day shipping, or they tend to go longer than the 2-day shipping. So I decided I'm just going to write them because, maybe there's something that I'm missing. Maybe they're changing something. And the guy was totally transparent. He was like, listen, we're having some troubles with our carrier. I know that's not your problem. Just wanted to put that out there and let you know. And then here's something that I can do for you now. And I just,
Yeah.
that by itself, I was like, all I needed to hear was that honesty. I was, I didn't need anything else. And I really appreciated that. So yeah, definitely transparency.
Yeah. And it's taking responsibility for every aspect of your life. And a lot of times we get caught up in our, like I said, in your own head, in your own space. Here's a quick little example I did. So I was having a conversation with a friend, and I had gone into San Francisco before Christmas. I did this networking dinner and I connected with somebody. And then I had said, oh, he was doing this e-commerce event. I've got a friend who has blown up e-commerce, like 8 figures. And I'm like, oh, you should talk to him. I can connect you guys. Well, my friend has a picture in front of a jet. And he's like, oh, that's a little bit cheesy. I hope he's not like that. And it's like, I got offended at first because I'm like, I know my friend, right? And I know who he is and what he's about. At the same time, I get it that those lifestyle pics don't do what they used to do anymore. I think a lot of people are past that. And regardless of the why behind my friend's reasoning, I'm like, well, this other guy has got a right to his opinion. I don't need to get offended. It may not be a good fit. It's all good, to each his own. So it's remembering that too. And I'm responsible for saying, hey, you want the connection? You don't? It's cool too. So responsibility goes a long way in marketing.
Oh, big time. Yeah. And the point also that you made there too was connecting and being open to being a connector. And that's what it's all about. Like, that's what social media originally started as join the conversation. And I feel like somewhere along the line there, it quickly got lost into, you just have to promote. And people forget that it's a conversation. That's how you interact with people, and that's how you build your relationships.
You know, it's crazy. That was one of my, so I did my year in review. Sorry, I'm in my slippers and my feet were falling asleep. So I don't mean to be like antsy pants.
That's fine. I'm over here moving and shaking too.
Okay. I'm like, my kids got me UGG slippers. I'm like, they're so comfy and it's freezing today. So, but, so in my year in review, I did sort of content predictions, right, for 2018. And one of those content predictions was that I think we're going to see people taking more in real life. Like, Ed, what are we, an hour and a half away from each other? I'm like, we have to meet. We need to get together, and we'll create content around that getting together, right? So I think you're going to see more of that happening. People, my whole, everything is content, but you'll see people who are craving the interaction, the personal connection, forming real relationships and friendships, because we need to get out of the house, right? I mean, we need to get out. I'm really bad. Like, nobody would think I'm antisocial. I'm not, but I really get like content, I mean, it is. So it's very easy, but I do think that moving forward, that in-person connection, or even more, just let's say hi on Skype. Let's see if there's a, something simpatico that we can support each other with. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that in this coming year.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's the big thing. Like, I know for myself, I mean, I go to the gym almost daily. So that's kind of my get out of the house, my downtime where everything comes together. And I mean, I probably could spend all day at the gym and get work done at the same time if I really wanted to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that part of 2018, I want to start just putting myself out there more in terms of being at a coffee shop and hanging out and doing some work, just so that I'm open to whatever comes in the doors. Like, who knows,
Yeah, I mean, it is that whatever works for you. Because like for me, like there's no way I could work in a coffee shop. It's too noisy. I get a little bit like I'm a noise Nazi and I have to wear the bows, but it's more about, for me, I think at this point, I'm like, go to trust me, the day that I went into San Francisco for the dinner, I had driven up to my parents. It was a 4-hour round trip in the morning, and then came home, did stuff. And then to go into San Francisco, even though I'm not even an hour away, technically, traffic, the Bay Bridge, but I was like, go, you need to do this. This is what's going to shift your business. And It has, you know, just even the podcast, doing this kind of stuff shifts things where people can see you. And, you know, people watching this that maybe haven't seen me live or listen to me, they will get a flair for my personality pretty quickly, right? That, you know, so, I mean, it's huge and you don't know. And I love the piece of it because there's so many times it's like, well, what are you doing that I can share with my audience? It may not have any direct return. And so there's that piece, but it is sort of that value deposit that starts adding up.
Yes, and that's the huge part, and that's that's why I'm the same way. It's like I want to do this. This is what I love to do: talk to people, connect with people, and then have people find each other. And this is
Mhm.
what I'm like. Hey, I can get paid to do this all day long. And
Totally. Yeah. It totally is. And the thing is, let me ask you this though, Ed, and going into this, and for anybody who's watching also, there is this piece of with like live streaming and podcasting and content where there's not always a direct return, right? You're not going to produce it today and go, wow, I made money from that time I had Kim on the show tomorrow, right? So that's not going to happen. But if you're in this again for that long term, you know what I'm saying? And honestly, like, I think part of it's probably the Kool-Aid with Gary for me, but it's been listening to that over and over and over again. And that is so much more my style as opposed to the constant promotion. Like, will we run paid traffic for lead surveys? Absolutely. Will I run it for other stuff? Yeah. But at the same time, if I'm showing up and connecting and producing all the time, people will want to know how to work with me. I'm not going to have to shove stuff down their throat. And I'm not saying that that's how everybody does it, but it's a more natural style for me. It's way easier to do this consistently and connect than it is to do landing pages and A/B split testing and paid traffic. Like, that already hurts my head.
And that's exactly the same page I'm on. That's why most of the time I'm not out there saying, you can hire me for XYZ. I mean, sometimes I do, but not very much because for me, I'm all about just producing the content and hanging out with people. And that's how I was number one at when I was at Apple for sales at my store because I wasn't focused on the numbers. I was focused on the
Mhm.
relationships and building those and providing value, And I love being able to tell people that I had customers, we weren't on commission, but I had customers who would wait a half hour just to work with me, even though there was other people available to help them. They said, no,
Yeah.
we want to work with Ed. And I didn't get any bonus points or, anything out of that besides the fact that I got to work with them and help them get what they needed. So
Yeah.
it really does. And it doesn't, you don't see that necessarily overnight, but you go into it knowing that it's going to return in some way, in some form, and you just keep showing up.
It does. It adds up. And at the same time, you have to be careful to that you do make the offer once in a while, right? So, because I fell into the trap for a long time too. I'm like, I created an email list of freebie seekers. When's the next free WordPress tutorial? How do I do this? Are people going through your contact form? Hey, can you help me do this? And how do I? And I'm like, no, like, you can hire me. But so from that perspective, there is a fine line. And so I always tell people when I'm talking to them at first, like, I would recommend making an offer sooner rather than later. Like, something small, make that offer, get comfortable with it. Because if you're creating quality content, if you've got something that solves their problem, you also have a responsibility, right? To let people see that. Like, I'm on a mission. Like, I believe everything is content. I think we're going to see less tactical SEO content. Not that it doesn't have its place, it's valuable. But, if I'm searching for something on this, I'm probably on social. Right. So I'm probably on social. I'm probably connecting with somebody. And so you look at that. And so what does that mean? Or what does it mean with voice search? There's a lot of things changing. So it's a matter of how consistently show. So you do have to make the offer once in a while too. I went a little non sequitur there. Sorry.
That's a good point. And and it's a great reminder because we all do that. And it's one of those things that I'm guilty of it myself. And what's funny is I brought back recently, well, actually, I just added it back to my website last night, I think it was. But I added, treat me to coffee. And I actually put it in my Facebook about section for my page here. And it's actually a link to my paypal.me account because anybody could put whatever money they want and share it. And the
Right.
only reason I put that there is because back when I first started, I had somebody who asked, I gave out free information. I give out free information, and I answer some quick questions as much as possible. And somebody really appreciated that, and they were like, "How can I repay you? And can I give you something?" And I was like, "Well, it's not needed, but sure. I mean, if you want, I mean, I didn't ask for it. They wanted to give it to me. And having that set up and being convenient there is awesome. And I thought, you know what? If somebody wanted to treat me to coffee, I'm not going to say no. Here's the link. Do what you want.
Absolutely.
Quick questions.
Well, it's kind of the whole thing of, like, I don't know, it feels good to give. So it's also a nice thing to let someone else do something nice too. It absolutely is. God, I had something else I was going to say. I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I think it's a really exciting time, and I was looking at Jane's comment here. I know what I was going to say. Hey guys, if you're watching, give Ed some likes and loves. It's very easy. I've shared it out a few times, but if you can, give some likes and loves, say hello, let them know you're here with us. Sorry, Ed. I'm like, but that's even getting comfortable saying, hey, let people know, be sure to share this, right? And if you like this, tell your friends, that kind of stuff. I mean, that's just basic human nature. Like great example. Okay, so I'm a little bit of a nut over The Greatest Showman, okay? I have seen the movie twice. I have had that soundtrack on loop for I don't know how long now. But so I keep talking about it and telling people about it, right? Because I loved it. It made me feel good. I felt inspired. So I want to go do that. So if we take those sort of real life examples and bring them into business, when you feel good about something and something helped you, you want to share it. That's all you got. That's kind of the point to the coffee, I think.
Yep. And that's the big part. And what is beautiful, and I'm so glad to see that Facebook is finally doing this movement too, is that they are wanting you now to engage more. They want you to go past just sharing content. Well, they want you to share content, but they want you to really start engaging in the comments, which people who have been following me, I talk about it. It's the magic happens in the comments, and that's where you start building relationships. That's where you find your next idea for content. That's where you connect with others. That's where the conversation starts. And that's beautiful now that social media is really trying to get back to that and saying, hey, we don't want you just producing all this stuff. We want you to really produce quality content and engage with others, past the like. We want you to
absolutely.
We want you to do those emotions and connect in the comments. So I really enjoy that now.
Well, and that being said too, and that's where it's kind of, asking for the conversation. Didn't you see recently how Facebook, and I forget what it's called, but you can't do the clickbait type yes. If that stuff always makes me crazy, that's going to make me run for the border really quick. But a quick little story about that. So how many people, my guess, and I've done it too, where it's very easy to be the lurker and to not engage, in groups, to not leave a comment, to just click the like or the love button. But really, the relationship piece is taking it further, right? So here's an example. There's this gal I've connected with, Arlene Badasil. She's big in the ClickFunnels community. Great story. She's a kick in the pants. I adore her. She was doing a live stream. This was, last fall. And she was talking about expert secrets, which I absolutely loved and was a game changer. So I start talking to her. She's just talking about it in a live stream. So I'm like, oh my God, Arlene, that was a total game changer for me too. We just kind of hit it off. We take it to private message. Then next thing you know, I've got her interviewed. I mean, we're going to connect at ClickFunnels Live. We have had a few calls. I'm helping her stuff. She's helped me with funnels. And this is all just because I took the time to say, I'm right there with you and have a conversation in the live stream. So you kind of baby step your way into that too, because if you're not doing it, it feels a little bit like, oh my God, or I don't have time to start doing this. So set it up in a way that works for you, but just start having conversations, to your point.
Yeah. And that actually is a great tie-in to why I have you on here as a guest and why I'm opening up my show to be a talk show and to have people watching become guests, because I realize that being on video is not comfortable for a lot of people. I get that. That's where we're going though. And it's going to make, one, my job easier, but two, your job easier as the guest, because now you can do those baby steps. You start in the comments. Well, if we really want to start at the beginning, you start tuning in, then you start commenting, then you start showing those emotions with the hearts and the likes and all that. Then you start sharing, and then you start to become interested in becoming a guest. And then that's when we come on and talk with each other as if we're at a coffee shop. And then we have other people in the group here that are sharing in the comments, and it just becomes more comfortable, and it allows us to really just connect and just not feel like all eyes are on us by ourselves,
Well, it is. And, and to the point of content creation and kind of personalized marketing, which we're going to talk about too. So like, it's fun because, so I've got, just to lay the land for people. So I've got the two monitors, right? And I'm watching it and I've got the comments over here and then I'll see the comments come up. And so instantly what happens though with this is that both of us are getting content ideas. Okay. So there's that, right? So you can take the ball and run with it, but seeing, okay, so Tammy Fink just said, love Brunson, definite game changer. I'm like, oh my God, I could totally, hey, Tammy, let's do a live stream. Let's talk about expert secrets. What did it mean to you? Or did you get the funnel hacker cookbook? If, or what funnels are you running? So there's that piece of it. It's then what do you do with it? Where do you take it further? Right. And so it's so important. And I mean, I get it. Like when you do this, whatever works for you, find that piece that you can step into and do consistently. And then it just gets easier. And the whole being on camera, like I had to go put on makeup ad. I didn't have it on, right? It just is. I'm like, child of the 80s, too much sun damage. But that whole piece, nobody cares, right? It's also very easy to get into this. Oh, nobody cares. I don't judge anybody when I watch. And I'm like, what are they saying? Is it good or is it not good? I'll go.
No, and that's so true. And I know it's different for women, but I will say that it's one of those things that as long as you have something to talk about, that's all that matters. Just have one talking point, one topic and up to 3 talking points, show up, deliver, and then you're out. That's it.
Yeah.
Everything else is just extra.
Yeah. I just, at the end of the day, I just hit a point and it was again, because of podcasting. So my suggestion for anybody listening in terms of content, like the best type of content you can create is whatever you're going to do consistently. The podcast showed me a lot that I got so much validation for being myself. And I mean, like I think about it, like if you're going to do an hour show by myself and people will literally take me and listen to me for an hour, I'm like, they're totally my tribe, right? Like we could hang out. And so you start thinking about that. And that's that piece that differentiates you. It's, I feel like I'm getting kind of basic and fundamental here, but it's that whole Dr. Seuss, no one is youer than you. That is the biggest differentiating factor that you can pull into your business. Whatever that looks like, you got to find it. Some people don't want to be a brand. Some people do, but you find that piece that lets you shine in a way that works. And it takes time, you guys. Again, I'm not shy. And it took me a while to be like, here we go. This is me. Let's do it. So it just, you got to trust.
Yeah. And it's true. And I will say I am shy. It may not come off that way because we're on video, but trust me, I'm a shy guy and I've gotten better over the years, but to be on camera doing this, it takes a lot of work. And it's because people are showing up, they're engaging, they're saying that they want to hear me. I'm like, you really want to hear what I have to say? You really want like all of this? Like, that's cool. Like, let's do it. And it gets me and ready to go. And that's why I do it, and that's why you just show up.
That's my other hashtag, just show up. I love it.
That's awesome. So what other tips do you have for content marketing and kind of personalizing it?
So there's a couple things. And when I talk about personalized marketing, I think it's going to be the delivery of content is going to get more personalized and beyond sort of the, merge field of hi first name, right? But it is, and that's what Lead Surveys does, where we're going to segment subscribers at the point of opt-in. So there's that. And that way, if I know, oh, well, Ed really likes content about, or he is a podcaster, he's a live streamer, then he's really going to appreciate this. And I'm going to send you more updates on that, right? So there's that piece. I think we're going towards that with everything. And again, you guys, I'm not the developer of Lead Surveys. I get to do content marketing. Or there's other tools out there. There's other ways to do retargeting and conditional logic and all this stuff. My job is going to be to explain that on a basic level. But if you just start thinking about the fact that, I'm going to talk to my daughter differently than I'm going to talk to my dad, maybe. It's about the same thing, right? So you think about those things and it's who you're talking to and how the message is delivered. And, there's a lot of, Tammy, we totally should hang out. Or just message me, Tammy, PM me, and we'll at least hop on Skype. But I think it's one of those that, finding where you can be a certain way, meaning, the podcast, you can do one thing here. You guys have to be careful. I'm very animated, right? And it's like, I did great example. I was doing a little Loom recording yesterday And then to send notes to Devinder, who's redoing my personal brand. And I was watching I'm like, I am so animated. My daughter's like, I know, I know. But so that's, some of these things may not come through, or like I have to be careful not to hit the mic or touch the Varidesk, right? So there's all of those little nuances, but it's showing up on video and being animated is more helpful than trying to maybe translate that into a written text, right? And so figuring out what works where. And here's the funny thing, Ed. So you're in Content Creators, and we have 2 questions for people to get into the group. I have so much data. So first of all, anybody that has their own group, get the questions. You're going to start collecting your pain points. I know Jane has a group, and when you collect the pain points, one, there's your copy for a product, right? They tell you exactly what they're struggling with. So many people that we get kind of a couple generic questions of, how do I create more consistently? How do I do it faster? Or how do I, and it's like, you just do it. There isn't, I would love to tell you that there's this master way to do it. Like I've had people ask me before, do you really do those emails in the morning? I'm like, I do, which is why you might see them skip sometimes. But it's because I base it in the way I do it on my life. And I've gotten ahead of it a couple of times, but the best way, like Ed, you show up live a lot. And not just your show. And that's not it's a compliment. You show up like, hey, quick memo, you're in the car, you're going to the gym. You do that a lot. Sorry, I'm shouting. I'm like, now I'm getting really excited. But I know, but you show up all the time on camera. And so you're going to naturally just get better and better, right? And I never would have guessed you were shy. Never would have guessed in a million years.
And that's, that's the crazy part. And I will tell you, like, and everyone watching, I first started going live on Periscope. Oh my gosh, horrible to hear myself, watch myself. Oh my gosh, it was terrible. And then I just kept doing it over and over. And then I got more comfortable with it. And then, backing up for a second, Content Creators is actually a Facebook group that Kim has.
Oh,
so
thanks.
We'll definitely have a link in the comments for you guys later to check out, because it's an awesome group. And that's the beauty of Facebook, and that's why I have decided to run the show here on Facebook, is because that's where I spend my time. That's where people notice me, and not only go live, but in all of these groups. I've had people say, like, Ed, how are you so active in all of these groups? Like, I see you pop up everywhere. It's because I just show up and I deliver. And that can be just a quick response. It doesn't have to be like a whole paragraph. You don't have to, worry about all these different things. Like literally, the simplest thing you can do is give somebody a compliment in the comments, suggest something, and then it goes from there. Like that's really how simple it is.
Well, and the whole thing with content too, it's for everybody. And this is going to be my mission this year, you guys, is to get people to do more of the don't know what's up with the voice today, I'm sorry, but the sort of impromptu personal content, right? So to Tammy's point, we were talking about Russell Brunson, right? He used to kind of drive me crazy. I wish I had an eighth of his energy, and I'm kind of an energetic person, but it was through consuming their content that I got this whole other side of him. And one, I got to see, obviously he knows what he's doing. He's built a lot, but I got to see the dad, the friend, the business owner, the personal, the ups, the downs, right? So, and that's the kind of stuff, like I follow him everywhere, and I'm like, oh, Russell's story. It's like the kids at the dentist. And it's like, you find what works for you. But I was saying to Devinder, right? A really good friend. And I told him, like, Devinder, you create great content. You show up everywhere, but you need to show up more. So what I always tell people, I'm like, find what works for you, but like I will practice video, you guys, all like out when I'm walking the dogs, and I'm all, oh my God, that's a bad angle. I need a selfie stick or this, or, so you practice that stuff and just do it. And I had been listening to my voice for a long time before ever going live. So I got really used to that a long time ago, but you pick those things. But I just want to throw in a story really quick, Ed, if I can. The everything is content. And this is what I mean, you guys. So today's email, and I'll tell you how I would structure this. So I wanted to share, my friend Lee Jackson has launched Agency Trailblazers. This is for WordPress agencies or people who build WordPress sites, the community. And everything he does is stellar. I love him to pieces. Anyway, so it's like, okay, I'm going to email for him today. So I was like, okay, well, and he's got this thing in there called Agency Reset. So what's been going on in my life? So I share the story about having to go out on New Year's Day to run a couple errands. It was so quiet, right? Like nobody's out New Year's Day. They're all either hungover, resting, or taking advantage of the day. And I was like, and again, I'm always shopping, listening to something. So I'm doing my thing, and it's like the stores are there's less inventory. You can tell there's this energy of clear out the old, bring in the new, and just freshness, right? And I know it's January, and it happened to be a super sunny day. We're both in Northern California. It's not today, but it was just. It felt like a reset. It felt nice to get outside and get the fresh air. And then my daughter and I took the dogs to the park, and it was like this whole thing. And it was like, I tied that into his reset. It's all about resetting and the possibility of hope and what that means when you get clarity around things. And because it gave me clarity, getting out of the house and getting fresh air. And it was like, I was able to, so I took that and I just turned it into speaking of reset or whatever, then I go into the Agency Reset with Leon to share his stuff. So you can literally take anything that's going on in your life. I mean, I could take this and watching myself and animate it, and whether I want to do, this is how I set it up, or the fact that, I pulled out like an extra light, but I dropped it upside down and I broke the light bulb. But that shit happens. Sorry. Right. So that happens. That's just me. It's my life. So I'm like, I sleep it up. Do I have time to vacuum? No, get it out of the way. So it's just taking that, because you can relate that to life, right? How many times do you go to pull the trigger on something in your business and it breaks or it doesn't work or whatever? Those stories are relatable.
Oh yeah.
That was a bit of a rant. I'm sorry.
No, I still remember I had put the phone up one time. I was trying out a tripod or something. I put it up and I was live, and then it dropped to the ground. And then I picked it back up and I started laughing about it. And it was like, it could have been super embarrassing, and I could have dwelled on like, oh my gosh, I was live, I did this and that. It was funny. It was hilarious.
Right.
I picked it back up and we just kept going. Like, it is what you make of it. And I like right now, because I'm doing this through Be Live TV, everyone watching, I'm using my phone to that's why I keep dropping down my eyes to type in the comments. I literally just realized that I can comment directly on Be Live here on the side. Oh, can't hear me?
Yeah, your volume's a little bit low.
Does this make it sound any better?
No, what are you using, a default mic?
I'm using a new mic that I have tied into the webcam, so I'm testing that out today.
Okay, well, it's a little quiet, FYI.
All right, so
you gotta get closer to the camera. I'm just kidding.
I'll just yell and see how that works.
Anyways.
But yeah, so I found out that I can actually use the comment box on the Be Live. So there you go. You find something new every day.
Yeah, and I just, I think where we're going with content creation, it's another stat from Gary Vee, but it was like the fact that 53% of activity on phones is on social. And I'm never going to start teaching social media. I don't want to do that. But the point is, I think there is a balance, and I will always have my own site that my content sits on and is optimized and then shared from, right? Like I always want to be driving traffic back to my site too. But it's this whole idea of where are people spending time? I mean, it's great. Like, the fact that like Tammy hopped on, and it's like, I know she's been on my list for years. I'm like, oh my God, we should. Let's hop on Skype. And so all of those things that happen, it's like, where are people spending time? So it's a matter of taking the different platforms you can create content on, doing it, and how can you repurpose it? Little side note, somebody emailed me recently about automation for podcasting, right? And on one hand, I'm a big believer in automation and streamlining things. On the other hand, I do think that if you create content specific to the platform and you take the time to do it and engage on the platform, you're going to get a way bigger ROI. So you have to figure out how to do that, you guys, because we only have 24 hours in a day, right? I had a call with a friend this afternoon, and I was talking to her about, you ever just kind of feel like, God, why am I need to finish this? Why haven't I finished this? Your time. And so looking at the balance, right? And it's like, I think I need to sort of go, all right, 10 to 2, you got to close social, you got to close whatever it is, right? So you find what works for you, because you can't be everywhere all the time. You just can't. So automation has its role, but then it's finding out what content works best where. That was totally non sequitur, sorry.
Well, That was actually perfect because that's exactly what I went into 2018 here with, is that I had a plan. I wrote down literally, we kind of talked about this actually yesterday on yesterday's show. If anybody is missed yesterday's show, you'll definitely want to see it afterwards. We talked about how you really need to write out literally every single profile that you have. So your Facebook, this is my suggestion, I should say. You write out your personal Facebook profile, your business profile, your Twitter account, your Instagram, like everywhere that you're supposed to be, write it out. Put it on a spreadsheet if you want. Put the link there because that helps with updating your bio later. You can just click the link. But really making sure that you know all of those platforms and then realizing which ones you're comfortable with and where your audience is, and then work from there. So for me, Facebook is where I'm comfortable. It's where I have the biggest audience.
Mm-hmm.
It's where I know that if I go live, I'm giving the platform what they want.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be able to take this, like I do, and put it up on YouTube. I put it on my blog posts, and I call it a day. And then if I wanted to get crazy, I can then do snippets for Twitter and snippets for the stories and all these other places.
Well, that's just it. And again, I think, the content creation piece, and it's like people forget. So like really, I mean, afterwards, Ed, you've got a whole separate post on the camera and the mic, right?
Yep.
And then you can do screenshots of the comments, that type of thing, and then do a zoom in of you zooming into the camera, however that looks for you. But my challenge though is for everybody out there is to stop. I think I'm going to do a challenge for myself.
Yeah.
I jump around. I hope everybody's used to that. Like I don't finish my sentences, but that starting next week, I want to do a live stream every day about everything is content and give one example how I could take this bottle of water and turn it into a piece of content. And meaning, and I know that's a silly example, but I bet you I could. So I'll have to think about that one now. But in the fact that it's storytelling, it's that connection and stuff. And again, I'm not saying that links and SEO and that stuff doesn't matter, but, and is Larry on still? He would probably know. Is it latent semantic indexing? Is that what it's called? I don't remember, but it's basically, my understanding is that the search engines they're starting to decipher textual content on a site. Is it conversational? Is it personal? Is it keyword stuffed or whatever? So from that perspective, be you. I mean, and it's fun because if people are watching you live, they're going to hear your voice when they're reading, right? And so any of those things that happen, but really my challenge to everybody is just start sharing and just practice. I don't care if you spend a month. So like, okay, I keep picking up my phone, but it's turned off. So I don't know why I keep holding it up, but it's, like Instagram stories, Facebook stories. I was like, okay, what is this? And I'm like, oh, you're just going to start practicing. You may look stupid at first, but just go, right? Because you can't publish to social channels that you have an audience on as a practice necessarily, right? You can practice a post on your site and somebody may or may not read it or whatever if you're not going to drive traffic to it. Social's a little bit different. But truthfully, it's one of those things where it's just taking the time to figure out, okay, this is going to be fun. And, I've got a fake Facebook group where we test stuff all the time into. Like, so we just set up a Facebook group, a friend and I, and so we'll test anything like this. But really, it's just getting comfortable doing it and seeing what sticks. It's not a waste of time to try new things. It's not a waste of time to play. You don't know. It might be here, it might not be, but just test it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's you bring up a great point, especially when we talk about stories, right? For those who don't know what stories is, real quick, it's kind of like Snapchat. It's little clips of your day that you could use on your business page now for Facebook, on your regular Facebook profile. It's an Instagram now. And what's cool about it is it's an extra feature that you don't have to use if you don't want to. It's just there to have fun. And like Kim was saying, you can go ahead and practice doing a quote live, because you can just do a quick video clip of yourself to get comfortable. And like I said at the beginning of the show, if you look at the business page today, you'll see my story. I did a quick story of the setup I have going on here because it's crazy looking, and that's just a little behind the scenes. So it doesn't have to making anything too wild and crazy, and you don't even have to use it. It's just there if you want to. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and again, you got quick little thing. I'm sorry for stopping to type. My son was at an appointment, forgot to take my debit card, is texting me, hey, can you transfer me money now? I'm like, no. Tell them I'll call them with my credit card. Like, no, but right. So that's life. And so I could take that and spin it on being prepared. And sometimes you take the time to double check that you have what you're supposed to have before you leave the house, all those little things. Right. And I think it's going to be more fun to create content is going to be the difference. And here's a perfect example, another Gary thing, but he was saying, and you guys, I've already committed to him being on my new Kim Doyle show in 2018. I'm going to get him on the podcast. Right. So, but the whole thing is where he was talking about, oh my God, I lost my train of thought mid-sentence. It's another Gary thing. I lost my train of thought. Welcome to 47. I don't know what to tell you.
I'll talk about Gary for a second, and if it comes back, then jump in.
Hit it, right.
If you get Gary on your show, you tell him to come onto my show because it's funny. I'm starting to follow him more now, but I've been told by a couple people that I remind them of him, but the cleaner version in terms of language. So I take that as a compliment, I guess, and it is true. It's fun to watch. I'm starting to watch his shows and listen to more of his podcasts, and get past the hustle part, but just really it's just show up, just do it, and see what happens. It's what we've been talking about.
Well, and I always tell people that in terms of content or people who create content and what they're sharing, right? The best thing is to, first of all, stop getting offended that somebody rubs you the wrong way. It's really weird to me. It's kind of like go way back in where people would get so bugged by music or religion or this or that. It's call me Pollyanna, whatever you want to say. I don't get the I was just reading your thing, but it's like I just don't get the idea that you're entitled to your thoughts and opinions and beliefs and somebody else isn't. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't care. But my whole thing is, can you learn from it? Right? So if a great example, like with Ben Settle, I followed him and some of his emails were a little bit of a turnoff, but I chose to study how he did it. And then I've interviewed him a couple times. I became a customer. I started implementing daily emails, and I did it in my way. But if you can find somebody and you can really, just say, and even Russell Brunson, I get it. Maybe he drives you crazy or you don't want to listen to him. Read his books. Expert Secrets is a game changer. I will say that till the end of time, and so it's finding those things. And it's like you or me, same thing. If we're out there doing stuff, I may drive people crazy. I get it. People may not like my made up words or incomplete sentences or whatever. It's cool. But I'm doing some things that are working. And if you can find somebody else, great, or whatever. But it's just stop getting offended and pay attention, because usually, here's my armchair psychologist moment. People get offended when it's like, wow, they're doing that and I'm not, or they have that and I'm not. Like, I don't care. Kudos. Do your thing. Go be you.
Yep, and that's funny that you mentioned that. I'm gonna see if I still have the screenshot here on my phone from an article. I read an article about Cardi B. Cardi B has been blowing up with her rap music, right? And songs. I felt like I said that weird, like I was old or something.
That's right.
But her quote, and I'll kind of bleep out some parts here, but her quote was actually really good, and we talked about this on one of the shows too. Is that she said, quote, "Don't be a why her and not me," quote, type of be a dang, why, well, if she can do it, I can do it too. And of course, there's other words in there, but that, it's really, that's how simple it is. And for her, that article was talking about how she got her fame really from, she's just a regular girl struggling to pay her bills and began to pave a way for herself, all thanks to a camera, app, and her charisma. Like, that's it.
End of story. And you know what's funny is, so like I had a friend that was like, again, I know that I'm pretty high energy, right? And then another friend who wasn't, but at the same time, I was like, you don't have, maybe you're not hyper, right? Or I don't know how else to call you guys. So no judgment there, but you're funny. you're sarcastic and you're witty. So you need to pull that in more and be you, because that's where people are going to connect with you. So it's kind of like, I mean, like you were talking earlier about the cleaner version of Gary Vee. I swear a little bit like a truck driver in my personal life at times. It doesn't resonate with me for business. And I swear here and there, but I don't want to drop the F-bomb. I just don't on a public channel. And it doesn't bother me that Gary does. I don't care. It doesn't offend me. And if it does offend you, that's okay. Don't listen. But I just mean, you have to just go do you. And so many people would rather see the mistakes, the errors, the real you, but don't like that this perfect polished, like with the predictions, you're going to see a lot more impromptu live streams. And what's going to happen though, this is a fun thing. So everybody listening, and I know Jane had left a comment earlier about the long term, right? That online business is not overnight. So what's going to happen is you're going to see people jumping into live streaming and not getting a return. And so they're going to quit, right? And people do that with podcasting too. I'm like, they'll do it for a year and be like, I'm like, it's great content. And I get it. If there's a cost to it, then how can you drive it more? Then you go all in and you figure out, how can I get more listeners, and where can I promote this, or who can I get on, or am I giving this piece of content that I'm paying to have produced maybe the right amount of attention it needs? But either way, it's long term, right? So it's like you have to be willing. And so I think, because still podcasting is still a great medium, right? And we talk about Gary Vee keeps saying, go all in on voice. I got an Echo for Christmas. It's like, go all in on those things, and they're not going anywhere, but they're not going to get overcrowded because too many people will drop off for not getting a quick enough return.
That is key, everyone. That one right there, nothing else. That's what you have to remember, is that part right there. Mic drop.
I'm like, we're not going to drop that, but
yeah.
I already dropped a light bulb, so we'll leave it at that.
Light bulb. We'll go with light bulb today.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the big one right there, is that you really want to make sure that you're in it for the long haul. And if you pivot,
yeah.
you pivot, but you're there and you're doing it, and you just have to set a plan. I mean, that's what I did with this show. I thought, oh my gosh, I have to commit every day of the week at 4 p.m. to go live. Like, I was barely going live a couple times a week, let alone a commitment of 5 days a week. Like, that's a lot. And
it's totally a lot.
Yeah. People that I was telling, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go live. Like, even my mom, who is not on social and stuff, she's like, what do you talk about? Aren't you afraid you're going to run out of things to talk about? I said, yeah. Do I ever? She's like, no, you've never stopped talking. So, it works. And being able to bring on guests, ideally, I want to have guests 5 days a week, because that's what I want to do. Is that going to happen? Who knows? Some days they'll just be me, and they'll be shorter lives. Some days
I think it should be you some days.
Yeah.
I think you need to build that in. I've told everybody that. The people that do, like when we were doing podcast services, I was like, do some solo shows. And it's because, Ed, you're building a personal brand, right? Like, people do want to connect with you. And so whether it's like something personal, or whether it's a quick little thing that you just did, but you need to build in solo shows to Ed Talk TV. I firmly believe that. And because your goal is always value, right? And intention and connection and stuff. And from that piece, like, another prediction, because now I just think I've got a crystal ball, but is, I think we're going to see more of the mindset, personal, how do we deal with, when you feel anxiety, or when you feel like today was a funky day. What do you do for me earlier? And it's like, not everything's fine, but I was just having a day. And it was like, all right, I got to stand the desk up. I got to get up and do this. And of course I feel better. Like me physically doing something always shifts my mood. But I think we're going to see more content from that piece about how our emotions, how our physical, how our mental, the intellectual EQ, all that stuff, how that plays into business. So there's a lot of opportunity for content around that as well. And too many people don't want to touch that, but I think there's a craving for it.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. And thinking about it, who knows? Maybe moving forward, Wednesdays will be, because that's kind of I kind of have Wednesdays as my quote off day from client work and other work, just so that way I can catch up on things that I didn't do maybe, or that I need to do, and just kind of that in between. So yeah, I'll definitely keep that in mind, because that would be fun. these lives, this show basically is combining things that I've been doing between the Yes to Entrepreneurship podcast, the Check with Ed podcast. It's kind of been a combination of those two now bringing it to live video. So it's fun to see things evolve. And if you pause and look back to what you've done so far, you can see those connecting the dots.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love it. Awesome. Well, we're coming up close on time.
I know. I was like, I better stop talking.
Yeah, we could be here all day long. I love it. So any last minute tips or anything else? I'll have you afterwards drop your links in the comments there so people can find the group and to find where you're at. But if you had anything else you want to wrap up with, let us know.
Well, just real, I just show up, you guys. I believe in that. My 2 hashtags are hashtag just show up and everything is content. And just practice and play with it. Stop overthinking it. I've done that for so long. That was one of the things I decided to say goodbye to in 2017 was overthinking. Like, you're not always going to feel like it, but get in there and do it. And then, of course, follow me, new brand, kimdoyle.com, and leadsurveys.io, which is it's a new SaaS I'm launching this month. It should be live on the WordPress Chick sometime this week. But it's all about mini surveys that you can segment your subscribers at point of opt-in. So it's going to be an exciting year. I'm pretty pumped. And of course, content creators.
Yes. Awesome. Well, I'm going to stay on and I'm going to remove you from the broadcast and go ahead and drop those links in the comments for us. Awesome, guys. How cool was that? We are so lucky to have had Kim on here. And if you are wanting to be a guest, you can definitely head over to checkwithed.com after the broadcast. Be sure to drop comments and love and be able to share this broadcast out. Feel free to send feedback. I love feedback. I look at it as strengths and opportunities. And we are going to go ahead and turn it over to you guys. See you later.